Hi guys, so I thought I'd drop another video around the programming story that I put up yesterday. It's interesting to see how so many people go to the gym without programming. I think that from my point of view as a personal trainer, um, programming, if you take out the other factors of goal setting in terms of things like nutrition, sleep, etc., programming is the most important thing when you're going into the gym. If we're not programming, we're not going to be getting optimal results. And whilst there is some merit in terms of things like gym anxiety, going into the gym to do things that we enjoy, etc. Just getting in there and doing something is better than nothing, obviously. Whilst there's merit in that, we need to make sure that we're programming ourselves properly if we want to achieve goals. If you have got specific goals like strength, hypertrophy in terms of building muscle, etc., power, speed, whatever it is, we need to make sure that we're programming correctly and properly, and that we have some form of program that we're going to be following each time. It's why that I spend probably 8 to 10 hours a week, sometimes more, depending on what we're looking at, programming my clients. Some people say it's a lot of time, but I think that it's important to make sure we look at the training and then we're spending the time in the gym optimally. The age-old thing is, can we train strength, for example, and hypertrophy at the same time? The overarching answer to that is no. Yes, we can do it at the same time, but you're not going to be achieving the results that you're going to achieve. Are going to take a lot longer, because we're confusing our body. The physiological adaptations that we're trying to do is not going to take place if we're trying to confuse the central nervous system with too many things. So it's important that we maybe do block training. There is a lot of people that do say mixed training. They do a little bit of strength, a little bit of hypertrophy, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And what we have to understand, the basic principle of achieving our goals really is the acronym of GAS. So it's the General Adaptation Syndrome. So it basically means that we stress our bodies in a particular way, whether that be strength, whether that be for hypertrophy, which causes an adaptation. So our bodies say, oh my God, he's lifted 100 kilo. That's more weight than we can normally lift. We better adapt to that. That body then adapts to that. So next time we find that 100 kilo a little bit easier and a little bit more easy, a little bit easier, which then allows us to go up and increase those intensities, etc. If we try and say, for example, start lifting that 100 kilo, then go and do a little bit of speed work, then go and do a little bit of hypertrophy work, for example, our body doesn't know what to adapt. It can't optimally adapt to that strength. It can't optimally adapt to hypertrophy. It can't optimally adapt to street speed or power or anything like that. Okay, so it's important that we look at the program that we do. And my best advice is really from the years that I've been doing this and through my qualifications, research, all that kind of stuff, generally is to block train. So you do a little bit of strength for a couple of weeks, let that adaptations work, let that kind of fizzle out, because what you'll tend to find as well is once you put your body under that stress, it gets used to that stress. So you do, say, 4 weeks of strength. What tends to happen is the gains start to plateau. So we have to do something different. So either we do something different in the realms of strength, or we move on to a different blocks. We move on to maybe speed strength. We may move on to endurance. We may move on to something else, okay, power, for a couple of weeks. So we have the residual effect. So it means that, particularly with strength, we keep our strength things about up to 30 days and come back. It can actually be longer. It can be weeks and weeks before we actually see a real decline. So I think it's fair to kind of do a strength training block, come away for 3-4 weeks whilst we focus on other things, and then go back to it whilst we still keep that residual strength. You may lose 3, 4, 5% of that, like 1 rep max, for example. But ultimately, when we go back, we're still going to be blocking up and improving in other things like endurance or power and stuff like that. Okay, so if you want to learn more about programming, then drop me a DM or speak to me in the gym. I just think it's important. You know, I speak to a lot of people in the gym at the moment who aren't seeing those improvements. They've been in the gym since April. And they're getting to that stage where they've been there 6 months now. They're doing the same program over and over and over and over again. They're not changing it, or they're not getting the right adaptations. So they're now getting frustrated because they're not seeing the growth. They're not seeing the strength come. They're not seeing the goals starting to be hit after 6 months. So I think it's important that we get that programming right. So yeah, if you want to find out more around programming and stuff like that, don't be afraid to hit me in the gym. I'm using the gym most of the time at the moment, or just drop me a DM and we can have a chat further. All right, cheers guys. Thanks.